There is a kind of person who feels most themselves when they are inside their own home. Not because they are weak or afraid of the world, but because only when the door closes behind them do they finally feel like they can breathe. Maybe that's you. You try to fit in, try to smile, try to be cheerful like everyone else. But the moment you come home, the very first thing you do is exhale softly, as if you've just stepped away from a wave no one else could see. And somewhere inside you, a very small question always whispers, is something wrong with me? Am I living the wrong way? Before we go any further, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you, nothing strange, nothing misplaced, nothing that needs to be fixed. You're not avoiding life. You're simply trying to live at a rhythm your heart can actually bear. And if you've ever wondered why you can only breathe easily when you're at home, maybe today you'll finally hear the explanation your body has been whispering to you for a very long time. Part 1. Somatic Layer. When you feel most at ease at home, it isn't an accident. Your body and your entire nervous system is trying to tell you something you may have never slowed down enough to hear. You sense the world more intensely than others do. The things people overlook touch you in a very real way. A glass hitting the table a little too hard makes your heart jump. Bright supermarket lights tire your eyes after only a few minutes. A conversation that goes on too long, especially when the other person speaks quickly, forces your mind to keep up until you're exhausted without knowing why. It's not because you're weak, it's because your body picks up more signals, tiny ones, but enough to create ripples inside you. And sometimes you feel those signals directly through your body. Your shoulders lift, your neck stiffens, your chest carries a thin layer of mist. Your hands curl into a small fist without you noticing, and only when you return home, when your hand touches the familiar key, do you realize how long you've been holding tension? To other people, all of this is just normal. But to you, these are streams of energy you must process and digest, and these small, nameless things are what drain your energy without you understanding why. This is why, when you step inside your home, when the door closes, when the familiar room wraps around you, you feel as if someone has just turned off a machine that had been humming loudly inside you all day. If you look closely, your body always knows this long before your mind does. Your shoulders drop naturally. Your breath slows, steady and soft. Your eyes relax. Your face loosens. A thin quiet spreads through you, just enough for you to recognize, I'm finally home. It's like a room deep inside you opens slightly, letting a stream of air slip in. Cold outside, but warm the moment it touches you. Just by resting your hand on the chair or letting your feet touch the cool floor, your whole body understands. I'm safe. You always know exactly which corner of your home calms you the most. A seat by the window, a chair that's been with you for years, or simply the warm cup you hold every evening. You don't need much to be at peace. You just need less. Your body doesn't bring you home to hide. It brings you home so you can return to your true rhythm, a rhythm the outside world never hears. And it's here that your emotions finally have enough space to say the things you've kept quiet for so long. Part 2. Emotional Layer. There are days when you don't know why you're exhausted after just meeting a few people. You smiled, you were polite, you played your part. But the moment you walked away from that conversation, Your heart dropped in a tiny, sudden way, as if your energy slipped out without warning. And then you wonder, why do small things tire me this much? You rarely tell anyone this, right? Because you're afraid they'll think you're weak, difficult, or unable to socialize. So you choose silence. You choose to smile and say, I'm fine. But inside, you're holding everything together. For others, not for yourself. There are moments when you leave a gathering and your face feels like it's wearing a mask too tight. You replay your own voice in your mind and realize you weren't yourself the entire time. You were just saying things that matched their tone. If you're hearing this and seeing yourself in it, you're not alone. There are moments when you want to go out, want to fit in, want to be normal like everyone else. But when you're ready, shoes on, standing at the door, something gentle pulls you back. Not fear, a nameless tiredness, a quiet feeling that your body isn't ready to step out. You know that feeling well. The moment you read a message inviting you out, your heart tightens slightly. The moment you sit among a group and suddenly feel yourself fade from the conversation. The moment you say, sure, out loud, while hoping secretly that the plan gets canceled. Or when you're sitting in a cafe with friends, everyone talking loudly, laughing loudly, and you smile, nod, smile again. But walking home, you realize you don't remember anything you said, only a small tiredness spreading in your chest. No one sees this, but you do. No one notices these things, but you notice, and sometimes you feel sad about it. Not because you dislike people, but because you're afraid you're disappointing them. Here's the truth. You're not afraid of being around people. You're afraid of becoming the version of yourself you think they want. You've tried fitting in many times. You've tried talking more, laughing louder, being more enthusiastic. But every time you do, it feels like a part of you gets taken away. No one has ever told you this, so you think you're doing something wrong. But the truth is, you live with a heart that is sensitive to authenticity, and it gets tired when it has to pretend for too long. Do you notice? Whenever you force yourself to be cheerful, a small hollow appears in your chest. Not painful, not heavy, just hollow. But it's a sign. Your heart is being pulled away from itself. Let me say this softly, but honestly. You are not tired because you struggle to love others. You are tired because you love in a way that needs emotional safety. You love deeply, thoughtfully, selectively. You give sincerely, so you cannot give it to loud, hurried, shallow spaces. Love, for you, is not something to rush. It's something to keep safe. And because you love deeply, you get hurt more easily. A careless sentence, a mismatched tone, and your heart withdraws. No one knows this, but you do. You feel it in every breath. Then you blame yourself. Why am I like this? Why can't I be cheerful like everyone else? But pause for a moment and look at this truth in a softer light. You're not hard to love. You simply need spaces that feel safe enough for your heart to open. Some hearts need noise to feel alive. Yours needs truth, and truth is never loud. At home, you don't have to defend anything. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be strong. You get to be yourself, whole, complete, enough. And from here, we enter another layer, the inner world, where everything about you has always had its own quiet order. Part 3. Inner world layer. There's something very few people understand about you. Beneath choices that look simple, Staying home, canceling plans, keeping quiet, lies an inner world far more intricate than anyone realizes. You don't choose quiet because you like silence. You choose it because it's where your energy remains intact. The outside world moves fast, shifts tone fast, emotions rise and fall fast. But inside you, everything happens at a different rhythm, a rhythm slower, deeper, richer in information. You don't just hear what someone says, you hear the pause between their words. You don't just see someone's expression, you see the tiny shifts in their eyes. You don't just feel your own emotions, you feel the emotions of the person in front of you. Their faint pressure, their hidden disappointment, their unspoken heaviness. Sometimes just standing beside someone for a few minutes, you hear what they never say. The way the air around them thickens slightly, the way their voice drops when mentioning something that matters. This sensitivity comes to you as naturally as breathing, and it tires you in ways no one sees. And that's why you get tired faster. Not because you're fragile, but because you pick up more signals than others. You carry a sensitivity like a finely tuned antenna. Joy, sadness, pressure, expectation, disappointment, mixed energies. You sense them all clearly. You rarely talk about this because you're afraid of hearing that familiar line. There's nothing to be tired about. Everyone deals with it. So you stay silent. Not because you don't know how to speak, but because if you have to explain yourself, the other person is already not seeing you. Sometimes, after a day of taking in too much, you come home with your head feeling slightly heavy, but your heart lightens the moment you step into the quiet. Just sitting down, resting your hands on your knees, letting your chest open at its true pace. You feel the scattered pieces of your energy returning to you. At home, where no one expects you to perform, you get to breathe at your own rhythm. You get to feel your emotions at the pace they naturally move. You're not withdrawing. You're preserving the original shape of your soul. Your inner world is not a dark place. It is a room with very soft light. A room where emotions can spread out, settle, and return to calm. A room where you don't have to shrink yourself to fit any other version of you. Some people find themselves in crowds. You find yourself in silence, but not the silence of emptiness, the silence of an inner garden where thoughts grow slowly but grow true, and feelings breathe in long, honest breaths. When you spend time in that inner world, you're not avoiding life. You're living it through a depth only people like you can touch. Some need noise to feel alive. But you only need a moment that matches your tone. A warm light, a small corner, a hot drink, and your heart opens naturally. This is not loneliness. This is emotional intelligence in its most delicate form. You're not too introverted. You're oriented toward depth, a kind of perception not everyone is built to understand. And when you finally see this, you realize you were never wrong. You're simply living at a rhythm the busy world never learned to listen to. Part 4. Soft landing. There's something you may have never said out loud, but deep inside, you always wish someone would understand that the quiet you choose isn't a wall. It's a roof where your soul can rest. A place where your heart doesn't have to defend itself, and your breath doesn't have to match anyone else's rhythm. And if there's anything you can take with you today, it's this. You never need to apologize for the way your heart works. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to choose the spaces that help you feel safe. You're allowed to love others at the deep rhythm that feels right for you. You're allowed to return home, both the home outside and the home inside, whenever the world becomes too loud. You don't live less than anyone else. You simply live with a depth few people are quiet enough to reach. That depth doesn't make you different. It makes you correct, aligned with yourself, aligned with your rhythm, aligned with the way your world moves within you. Keep the small moments that make you feel like yourself. The soft light near your window, the warmth of your cup, the small corner that loosens your breath, and the nameless silences only you know how to cherish. Maybe you don't notice, but those very small moments are stitching your energy back together every day. They're like tiny, invisible threads, connecting you to yourself in the quietest, most beautiful ways. When you listen to yourself like that, you are living your life in the most beautiful way you can. You're not running from the world. You're simply choosing to step into it only when your heart is full enough not to lose itself again. And when you are ready to step out, the world will still be there. But this time, you will walk into it at your own rhythm, slow, steady, true, and gentle enough not to exhaust your heart ever again.